You talked about back catalog albums, that obviously, we talked before here. Have you talked with BraveWords about possibly reissuing any of those? Because some of those aren't available.
Yeah, we get hit up, and I mean all the time, Tony. I'd be bullshitting you if I told you it was less than 3 labels a year hit us up to re-release our back catalog,
How,
especially.
how many of them are scams?
No, they're all true. They're
Oh, they're
really,
like legit. They're not scammers trying to get you, because there's a lot of
no,
those out there.
no, these are legit labels that we are aware of and we know.
Hmm.
They're most Greece and Germany, and they hit us up, and these are bands with a reputation. Now, keep in mind, I think that all labels, to one extent, they're in it for the label. So, it depends on what you mean by scam, because the labels are in it for label. They're not in it for bands. They're in it for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Bands is a means to an end. But, we constantly get hit up, and they, well, we're going to pay you this, and we're going to want to release this many, and you'll get this, and we'll get this, and this will be the term period. And we always look at it, and we just say, no.
Yeah.
In the end, we always back out because, one, we don't think that the first album is on par with the stuff that came after. Right?
Yeah.
And everybody always wants those first two. Now, the second,
on par, like from a songwriting standpoint or production?
from a production standpoint, I think, and the songs were very diverse in the sense that they were very. It was more like Dawkins than Priest meets Maiden.
Okay.
Which is kind of where we are now, or where we kind of morphed in 2000 and beyond, or maybe 97 and beyond. But when we started, we were more all over the place musically. So almost for the same reasons, Pantera never wanted to re-release their first 4 albums.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. Before Cowboys from Hell, they were like, those albums didn't exist. But they had 4. Well, we had 2. But the second one, I have no issue with. I would like to release that, but I think that we would make, because it is a past release. It's not going to make anything. It's not going to break us or do anything new for us. I think, and it's been out of print for so long that I think if we did it ourselves, if the band just released it ourselves, we would make money hand over fist on the thing. Right now. Clearly, we're not dying for money or anything because we haven't released it. It says it's been years. But I think when we do, we, the band, should reap the fruits of that labor, that past labor.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the newer albums that have been re-released and have seen print in the last many years, I wouldn't mind, maybe doing something like that with the label, or doing a new record. But certainly the first 2, which are the ones that everybody wants, because that's the one most fans. Those are the 2 that most fans are missing to complete their collection, and those 2 have never been released on vinyl. They've been on cassette and they've been on CD, but those first 2 have never had a vinyl release, which is what everybody wants. I want it myself because as an avid vinyl collector, I'd like to have it for my own collection, but eventually, either at some point somebody will make us an offer we just cannot refuse, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Or we'll do it ourselves. We've had offers, but they're not offers that make us say, "Holy Christ, look at this! We've got to do it."
Some guy that looks like Marlon Brando from The Godfather says, "I got an offer you can't refuse."
Got an offer can't refuse. You hear me? But yeah, if something like that came down the pike, yeah, I mean, we get offers all the time, but they're not ones we can't refuse.
No, I gotcha. No, I understand. So let's talk about the newest album again really quick. It was out last year. You seemed to get a lot of positive reactions to it. I mean, there were websites that I know for a fact, I don't think I've ever seen your name mentioned, but you were on a lot of these top 10, top 20 lists.
Is that amazing?
Yeah.
You
Would you say that this album was the best received album that you've ever had?
know? Best received.
Like I'm talking like a lot of people gravitated to it, and you ended
Uh,
up you know what I'm saying? Because it was on a lot of lists. Like
well,
I mean, it
but
was
I'll
on a
tell you,
lot.
it made a lot of and what's amazing, not just lists, but top 10 best of the year lists.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
which,
saying.
yeah, which is incredible because we released it ourselves. We put it out on our own premium label
Mm-hmm.
on other labels, and we just said, you know what? Let's just do this ourselves. They're not offering us anything more or less than we can do. And for an obscure release from a band on its own label to get that kind of attention,
Yeah.
almost screams to you, what's wrong with this music business that this band isn't on one of these labels that everybody knows and loves, right? Why hasn't somebody to this point been smart enough to say, man, we're gonna grab this band and work this band and push this band and do something with them, you know? So to Giles' credit, I think he saw that and he goes, Jesus Christ, man, they've done all the work. They've already done all this work, you know? And but that just goes to show you there are so many bands like Aska out there, you know, bands that have talent and drive and the push and the commitment and everything, and or even players like, you know, guitar players that can play rings around Eddie Van Halen and everything. And it's all a matter of who you know, maybe who you blow, and getting out there in the, you know, the public spotlight. Come on, man, because I mean, there's so many mediocre albums being released by name labels. I mean, very mediocre stuff,
I'd
or
agree.
stuff that great and doesn't qualify. You know, doesn't. And yet, oh, here we are. Check this out. And they're not making any of these top 20 lists. Yet an obscure band like Aska, boom, top 10 list, boom, KNAC, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was amazing how many top 10 lists we made, top 20s, top 15s, top 5s. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And yet, to not have bigger labels come knocking or, you know, kicking at our door, trying to, you know, grab us, that just shows you how far out of favor this music style has fallen.
Mm-hmm.
And also how out of touch I think many of the people making some of these decisions at these labels may be.
I've done a
You
whole
know?
episode on that.
Yeah, well, there you go. For a reason, right?
Yeah.
You did it for a reason because it's clear. It's clear.
I went through and did an entire episode of how they messed up, how there was a band. I just used one band as an example of how they messed up the promotion of this record they came out with from start to finish, from picking the singles to marketing the band, everything.
Yeah.
You know, so I get it, but hey, look, BraveWords picked you guys up.
Yeah.
And I think you're in a good spot now because you have people there that are willing to work as hard as you do. I mean, really, realistically, that's what it is.
Yeah. And they have been. I got to tell you, we were with Pure Steel for years.
Mm-hmm.
They put out records for us. They had the Fire Eater release. It was on their label exclusively.
Yeah.
They had released the 3 albums prior to that, gave them vinyl and CD release, everything. And in all that time, and those guys at Pure Steel, we were like family. We were like brothers. I love Andreas. I love Marcus. But when Marcus left, it was very hard to get any kind of communication from them. I mean, I managed to bring Cloven Hoof onto the Pure Steel label. We brought them on board, and but it's like I've had more communication in these last couple months that we've been with BraveWords than I had for years with Pure Steel.
Yeah,
and more. Here's the next step. Here's what you guys are going to do now. Here's what's going on next. Here's what which to me is almost a breath of fresh air. It's unheard of. This is not our first rodeo. It's not our first label. We've been with an Italian label, a German label, a U.S. label, and now BraveWords. I don't know if they're considered Canadian, American, Can-Am. I don't know, but
people are from everywhere there.
yeah.
I would say Canadian if Tim is the one that heads it. If I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I mean, well, BraveWords Bloody Knuckles was a Canadian magazine back in the day. Yeah, that's where it's. But I think of all the labels we've ever been with, the most communicative, the ones with the biggest plan for the band have been BraveWords.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't praise them enough or give them hats off enough. One, for recognizing our potential, for hearing and loving the music, getting behind Night Strike as they have, and the stuff before it, and here's to the future, man. We'll see what it brings. But
I did a segment on one of my episodes about them, actually. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I can't disagree with that at all. Couple more questions before we go. Do you have any plans to put out, start writing another record? Because I'm sure once they start promoting this, they're going to be like, all right, dude, when's the next one? When are you guys going to record and write the next album? Have you started writing for that at all?
Sir, we have. we have at this point, we have a couple of ideas in the can. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of songs in the works, in process. And I have an entire little recording device that I have filled with song ideas. I know Eric does too, our new guitar player, Eric Halpern, who joined us after Bryant's untimely departure. But one man's loss is another man's gain. So yeah, we definitely have started on that in anticipation, because if there's one thing about Aska, we've been real slow getting from one album to the next. A lot of that was because I was always, or Danny, or Danny White, our drummer, we were always, have been involved with other bands. Like I sang for Omen for 3 years.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, we told that story on the show at one point.
Yeah. And I did, 2 albums with Banshee,
mm-hmm.
which I'm in, but the band now is kind of retired or dormant or whatever. But you know how it is with these things; they change moment to moment. A band could be asleep for a period of years, and then suddenly say, "Hey, I want to do an album." Then you get back on it. But
sure.
So yeah, I mean, I was busy doing a lot of records, and someone always suffers when when you're being pulled one way. The person trying to pull you this way, kind of gets the short shrift. But right now, I quit Cloven Hoof. I left the band. I'm not in Omen. I haven't been in there in years. Banshee's dormant now, so we have a lot of time to put my energies into Aska. And so, yes, we have started a new record, and it's a high priority on our agenda. For sure.
Hey, everybody. Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.